Hey guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. Now I want to check in with you on this because this is an idea that I had, something that was basically bothering me. I woke up thinking about it and I wasn't totally sure how to approach it. Please remember to like, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews. Of course, I'll go ahead and place that into the section of the chat of how to leave 5-star reviews. Those really help me with competing against the big, mega sized firms. All right, now here's the thing. President Biden has done some good things. He's done some bad things. But this is something that I've been wrestling with when it comes to the cost of living adjustment. The cost of living adjustment is a big, big problem because people think they're getting a whole lot more money and they're actually getting significantly less on a fixed income as a disabled or retired person than what they need to successfully go forward and afford things in the future. Howdy, Deb Carter, Donna Puckett, Laura Houch, howdy, howdy. All right, so here we go. Does President Biden owe you money in 2023? I've heard over and over people screaming at me over the phone that they are in an extreme financial hardship situation, with the SSA not approving claims fast enough and that Biden owes them money. Keep in mind, I don't know how these people voted, but there is a common theme going on now with inflation for both the left and the right. So I was wondering, does Biden actually owe people money? Because people keep screaming it at me. You know, he owes me this. What happened? I need more to be able to survive. At first, my thinking was, of course, that he doesn't, right? Because he's the president. Why would he owe you money? What does he care? Or put another way, why would he give everyone another stimulus when it's going to hurt his economy, right? Because if it goes into recession, he's trying to, figure out how to keep out of recession, it's going to hurt his legacy as a president. So assuming we all just accept that the Fed was unable to stick a soft landing and that the term recession remains defined as it always has been, right? They don't change it. Also, for those who are so extreme, and remember, I get it. Some people really like Biden. Some people really like Trump. This video is going to be in the middle, okay? But for those people who are really, really into Biden, when a president tries to reestablish or redefine a word, right, like recession, it's a big deal. And so let me just go ahead and say this, like, just to put it out there. If I redefine what the color blue is, right, and the sky will now be known, because I redefine what blue is, that the sky will be now known as being purple, you'd be like, okay, this person is power hungry, a weirdo, and you'd be right. You'd be totally right. Now, if we push it even farther and I end up making money in a short-term and long-term sense based off of changing the definition of essentially the color blue so that the sky is now called purple, then you would say basically that, I was an enemy of science, I was an enemy of the people, of humankind, all those things. Look, so I'm not saying the other guy who has alleged, coitus with a stripper while married to a supermodel was better about, redefining words. I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into the T versus the B scenario. I don't care. We got stuck with them. Whichever way you want to go, you can go that way. But for now, blue is blue. Recession is defined as recession. All right. So back to whether he owes you money. The federal government has a contract with you called the Constitution, right? And then all of its different amendments and additions and yada, yada. Old, faded, maybe sticky is such the Constitution, but it does promise you the right of freedom from seizure of your property without due compensation from the federal government. When the government performs this poorly and you hold stock in the US dollar, right, you're holding those dollars, what happens is, being you have cash on your bed or in the bank, it would dictate that the government has performed a seizure of your property. But in this case, it's cash or bank dollars that are, essentially in the bank that are sitting there that you have. You look at your bank account online, you get your bank account sheet in the mail. That's money. That's your money. That's your money that you've earned that you then bring in. And so my question is private property being improperly, removed from your ability to hold it, right? Is it being reduced so much so that the expectation of you having it as an investment by holding it, that money in your account is an investment, don't think it's not just food money, it's an investment in yourself and your long term. So I started to look at this idea of defining what private property was. And private property refers to the ownership of property by private parties. That's you guys. Essentially anyone or anything other than the government. That's those guys. By private property may consist of real estate, buildings, objects, intellectual property, copyright, patents, trademarks, and trade secrets. The transfer of a private property commonly takes place by the owner's consent or through a sale or as a gift. Now, I just want to go through real quick again the whole idea here. Did the government essentially do a taking without just compensation to you by mismanaging your money to such an egregious, incompetent, negligent amount, failing to stick the soft landing, that you've now been seriously harmed as an investor of the dollar? Bottom line, some cases hold cash isn't private money, or it's not, private property. But at the same time, they hold that treasure is private property, but not in some cases unless it refers to some other group that can tie to it where a country has claim. So it's all over the place. Some courts hold that cash is private property, and most would, because when you earn money, right, it gets taxed because it's real. It's the common denominator compared against the worth of other things that are traded or bartered, and it's federally recognized as something of a particular value. Okay, that is, essentially helpful to a person in America or other countries as well. So it's definitely, in my opinion, private property, right? So look, if somebody came up to you and said, I'm going to steal your wallet, you would feel an attachment to what's in your wallet because that's your stuff. All right. So when someone steals your cash, whether it's a bank or a mugger, you're pissed because that was your money, not Uncle Sam's money. Okay, so if they significantly reduce the worth of your money, can President Biden, through the feds, just say, hey, look, we're managing your investments. We aren't doing well. You chose us as your investor because you voted us in. So tough luck, Buttercup. Well, normally with investments like gold or buildings, rich people stuff, they could take a loss, from the investors that manage their stocks, bonds, whatever. Okay, makes sense. They chose that person, that investor. And as a result, they can take a loss and not be able to recoup unless something criminal happened, from that, investor that they hired. That's fine. I get that. And we accept that because it was your choice in that money manager. But do you have a choice in the US dollar? In the US, as a US citizen in a US state? Well, no, not really. You don't have a choice. You aren't going to be walking around with euros and rubles unless they were shiny and you liked the way they looked. So you're stuck with US currency. And when the government fails beyond a certain percentage of inflation, we should ask ourselves, does the government owe us money? Not just the cost of living adjustment to increase Social Security disability benefits, not just the COLA adjustment to increase retirement benefits going into 2023, but in this case, we should ask ourselves, with the money we have across the board, does the government owe us money? Because they significantly devalued our investment. The governors are reaching out in 16 states with Biden's inflation fix option because they know that things are historically bad. Nixon leading into Carter, historic. So what if we had a law where if the inflation reached a certain point, then they had to compensate us for the loss of worth of our US money? Doesn't it make sense that people would want to hold US dollars as an investment if it grows, is backed by the federal government? Right? Makes sense. So this kind of brings me to my next point, in that President Biden absolutely owes us another stimulus payment. And the argument that more money in the economy would just cause a more severe recession, well, would it though? Because our dollars have significantly declined in worth. So if you just made us whole, we would be on even footing. But instead, you are arguing that you need us to take a loss and be more poor and more unable to afford things so that your recession isn't as bad. That's the problem we're running into. So I was thinking about this. In order to make the recession less terrible for Biden's reputation as president, he is willing to starve his Americans by devaluing their dollars. And then on top of that, not comping them for serious miscalculations from COVID. You might say he has no control over this, but you'd be a flat earther if you think that the federal dollar, controlled by the Federal Reserve, controlled by an agency head that is in direct communication with its boss, the President of the United States, who happens to be President Biden. So bottom line, it's like saying he isn't in control of the thing he directly controls. It's like saying he isn't in control of guiding fuel prices or transportation limitations. But at some point, we need to expect more from all of our presidents. That's your T's, your B's, all of them. We can't just say he's an old man who's having a hard post-COVID time. If it were me, I'd make a law where if the federal government saw over 5% inflation, then the American people are assured a stimulus payment. I mean, think about it. It doesn't just hurt you this year. It hurts you every year going forward. Remember when you could walk into a Walmart as a king or queen with 20 bucks in your pocket and leave with a full card? $400 is my current average for a 2-week period. So does he owe us another stimulus check? Yeah. Is COVID an excuse anymore? Maybe, but not really. And should we expect at least a plan that financially makes more sense than equity and the environment fixing our dollars worth in 2023? Yeah. Their plan is to literally superfund the IRS to pull out of the people and the companies more money. Their plan is to not stimulate you with a stimulus. It's to impoverish you even more with greater review of taxation. Yeah, so I'm sure this video will have some real anger, far, far left people. But at some point, even you need to ask yourself why you keep supporting someone who's hurting the disabled and retired more than anyone else. Is it your ego? Is it that you were wrong and still pushing and waiting for it to turn right? There's a lot of amazing Democrat candidates that could fix this. All I'm asking is that you start asking hard questions for both the red and blue teams. Remember, they are duty-bound to not deprive us of life, liberty, here's the important part, and property without due process of the law. Do any of you guys feel like the lawyers were fighting for you to increase the value of your dollar during this due process of the law epic war? I don't believe any of you were thinking that. Anyways, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. Have an absolutely wonderful day. We'll go from there, and I'll catch you at the next video. All right. Have fun, guys. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.